Welcome to my presentation. I'm Sarascatu and I will talk about virtual reality and augmented reality, their differences, uses and applications. What is virtual reality? Virtual reality definition is artificial computer-generated simulation or recreation of a real-life environment or situation. It immerses the user by making them feel like they are experiencing the simulated reality firsthand, primarily by simulating their vision and hearing. We have two types of virtual reality: non-immersive system that involves only one sense, and the immersive system that involves almost all the senses, like the 5D cinema, where you are not only watching a 3D video, but also other senses are engaging, using the movement of the chair or spreading water on your face, etc. Also, the augmented reality can be considered the third type of virtual reality, because it's not exactly the opposite of virtual reality, but it can be considered a union between the reality and the virtual one. Let's see better what augmented reality is. The famous game Pokémon Go is a clear example of augmented reality. To give it a better definition, we can say that augmented reality is an enhanced version of reality created by the use of the technology to overload the digital information on an image of something being viewed through a device, for example, a smartphone camera, iPhone, tablet, etc. In other words, AR is a view of reality with digital elements that add something to it. For example, information, or in the case of this game, interactive elements just for enjoyment. Here we have a brief table with some differences between the two realities. In the virtual reality, the user doesn't interact with the reality, but only with the virtual one, being completely immersed in that. While in the augmented reality, the real world is still present, but with the addition of the virtual elements that we can say complement the reality. Because of these differences, there is a change also in the way they are used. For example, virtual reality allows the creation of a simulated environment where it is possible to replicate almost all the characteristics of a real environment and to recreate also situations that are impossible to live and to enjoy in the real life. This enables to train, study, operate in a safe and responsive environment. It is mainly used in video games, military training, flight simulation, education, healthcare, scientific studies, medical research, among others. The augmented reality enables the user to overlay the reality with different tools and applications to facilitate his everyday activities. It is mainly used in simple devices such as smartphones, iPhones, computer, etc., military flight application, medical advancement, GPS system, and video games. Let's see now how, why, and who uses these technologies. Of course, they can be applied to every context, from school and education to video games, from engineering to healthcare. For that, we will analyze only a few examples where the new technology are seriously changing the way to operate in these fields. Virtual reality and augmented reality gained popularity with video games. Virtual reality games introduces the user inside the game environment, lets them feel a part of the video game universe. And to do it, they use virtual reality gloves that let the user interact with the virtual environment, and virtual reality headset and gaming controllers that are used to see this virtual reality and to move into them. Augmented reality introduces computer-generated objects and has them in the real-life situation. This system creates a more realistic situation than a virtual reality game. To do it, it's enough to have a device with camera like a telephone, a computer, iPhone, tablet, etc. A more serious field is military. Virtual reality and augmented reality have been adopted by the Army. Virtual reality is used to train the troops in a safe environment, free from risks, also to simulate dangerous situations impossible to recreate in the real life. Here you can see a brief video with more explanation. To train the troops, the Army used war virtual games with virtual reality games equipment, flight simulator, DSTS, parachuting simulator, and also other simulators and more technologies. Augmented reality is used during the military training to keep under control physiological parameters, and it will be added to the soldier equipment. It will let the soldier to see more information that a database can give to them. So they can know distances of targets, know which is the targets, identify elements around them and persons. And here you can find another video. The tools that they use are augmented reality visors and handheld devices. In this link, you can find an example that how new technologies can help in the field, like help from distances to fix engineering issues. Another use of these technologies is in the medical research and healthcare. Virtual reality in the medical field is a discussed topic, but experts demonstrate how it can help in studies, therapies, rehabilitation with less expensive and more results. It is not used only in the surgical training with headset and motion controller, but also is used in the therapy. It's used, for example, to treat the post-traumatic stress disorder, to recreate a familiar environment for young patients that have to stay long time in the hospital, to the treatment of phobias, etc. Augmented reality is a technology with potential, used not only to improve treatment efficiencies, but also to give a useful device to change the life quality from patients that need a permanent life support. For example, the AR glasses can use to assist the kids with autism, can simulate the consequence of a lifestyle on the organism, assistances during surgery, etc. Another use for virtual reality and augmented reality is the education system. Virtual reality can improve student learning by increasing engagement. The virtual world that it creates allows students to be immersed in what they are learning and fully understand it. It requires less cognitive load to process the information. The tools that they need are just a virtual reality headset with motion controllers that is useful to simulate to be in contact with what they are studying, especially in the scientific subjects. Augmented reality enables information to be added to the normal lesson in an interactive way. It will capture the students' attention and motivate them to learn. To do it, the technologies that they can use are the interactive blackboards, the devices with a camera such as iPads, smartphone, tablets that can add information to the real elements being pointed by the camera. And also, they can use a model of animals to make experiments, for example. Of course, they were not the only applications of virtual reality and augmented reality. There are so many others. For example, the civil engineering uses virtual reality to plan the realization of a project, and the augmented reality is useful for maintenance operation. But also, augmented reality and virtual reality can be used in business. For example, the virtual reality is used to reduce the cost of traveling to go to meeting, creating a virtual meeting rooms. In conclusion, here is a summary about differences and applications of virtual reality and augmented reality, and a brief introduction of their history.
You are watching Cold Fusion TV.
Hi, welcome to another Cold Fusion video. This video is part of an ongoing series in collaboration with Upload VR. The series will cover the emerging technology of the VR and AR industry and what it means for the world we live in. Virtual reality and augmented reality. They seem to be hot buzzwords which we've all heard before. But what are they exactly, and what's the difference between them? In this video, we'll take a look. Let's start with VR. In simple terms, VR is a computer-generated simulation or replacement of one's environment. For example, you put on a headset, it blocks out your world view and substitutes a digital world that's designed to fool your senses. From the point of view of your brain, you're somewhere else. It's a form of mental teleportation, if you will. So where did VR come from? There's going to be a full video on the history of VR, but the basic gist is as follows. The origins of VR as a technology system can be traced back to 1962 when filmmaker Mort Heelig created the Sensorama. It was an arcade-style cabinet with a 3D display, vibrating seat, stereo sound, fan, and scent producer. One of the experiences was riding a motorcycle down the streets of Brooklyn. The viewer would have a 3D view of the streets while having the wind blow in their face, while simultaneously feeling the vibration of the motorcycle seat and even experiencing the smells of the city. Although it was absolutely revolutionary for the time, the idea largely didn't gain traction. Most people point to MIT computer scientist Ivan Sutherland as being the godfather of VR displays. In 1968, he created the Sword of Damocles, the first VR headset. He and his colleagues at MIT started the first virtual headset experiments. As a side point, Sutherland was a low-key genius. He also invented Sketchpad in 1963, an advanced software for computer-aided design and a breakthrough in human-computer interaction. But more on this in the full history video. It wouldn't be until 1987 when the actual term virtual reality was coined. The term was the brainchild of Jaron Lanier, an American computer philosopher and computer scientist. Let's break down the actual meaning of virtual reality. Virtual means being something in effect, though not in actuality or in fact. This is from mid-15th century English. So in other words, ideally, VR is an approximation of our reality that is digital, but not reality itself. Since its inception in the late 60s, VR hardware has existed largely in university research labs in hilariously big and bulky forms, never to test the waters of mainstream consumer product, but more for an understanding of the limits of our brain's perception systems. It was also a helpful tool for PTSD and cognitive behavior therapy patients. Over the years, various companies such as Nintendo and NEC have tried bringing VR to the consumer market, but these efforts were major failures. The reasons for the industry's previous failures will be looked at in future videos, but broadly speaking, the technology just wasn't there and the threshold for building a convincing headset was too high. Until now. Currently, VR is quickly becoming extremely relevant to gamers, 3D artists, architects and real estate agents, teachers and students, and even astronauts. After crying wolf a number of times, VR is finally showing some promise this time around. Okay, let's move on to augmented reality. Augmented reality, also known as mixed reality, is a different beast from VR. This is because its main purpose isn't to cut out the real world and transport you to another one, but rather it's to be an enhancement of your real world with a set of magical virtual objects in it. When a person's real environment is supplemented or augmented with computer-generated images, usually motion-tracked, then that's augmented reality. So if you played Pokemon Go when that was a thing, or have used Snapchat lens face filters, then you've already used primitive forms of augmented reality. Here's another day-to-day but fairly amusing example of augmented reality from a third-person point of view.
The roads have been cleared. We're ready to get back out on the roads. Let's bring this car out actually into augmented reality and show you what I'm talking about. Because you hit the roads are clear, visibility looks great, right? You think there's no problem, but then you get behind this guy. You know, the one that doesn't clear the snow and the ice off.
The term augmented reality is attributed to a former Boeing researcher, Thomas Caudell, in 1990. Augment is from the Latin word augere, which means to increase or to add. Hence, AR technology is adding to our existing reality. Currently, augmented reality is also showing promise with efforts like Microsoft's HoloLens and the very secretive Magic Leap project. So let's take a quick summary of both technologies. Virtual reality tends to be completely immersive with no real-world stimuli affecting the experience. The goal of VR is to make the user feel as if they are, in fact, in another place. In stark contrast to this, augmented reality acts as a digital addition to the user's world. For example, objects can appear on tables, information can be displayed in floating windows, and graphics can be generated, all seamlessly motion-tracked to the user's field of view. The thing that makes AR and VR different from any other forms of technology is that it directly affects the perceptions and processes of the human mind in an obvious way. It's the only technology that can provide actual packaged experiences. While there are a large number of people that do think both AR and VR are a fad that will fade out like previous hype cycles of the technologies in the 80s and 90s, the thing to note here is that the underlying technology is vastly more powerful this time round and is very much feasible. Think of it as a time that's parallel to smartphones just before the iPhone. We just need the right blend of killer AR and VR applications, product, price, and consumer demand to really begin the altered reality spark. At current rates, by 2025, attractive AR and VR experiences will be commonplace. If done right, these technologies show incredible potential. Thanks for watching, guys. This was just an introductory video, and there'll be more videos coming in the series with Upload VR. Rest assured, plenty of interesting topics will be covered. So this has been Dagogo, you've been watching Cold Fusion.
That's the end of the presentation. Thank you for your attention.